So first off the list, we got the Oldsmobile 88. The reason these are so cheap these days is that most muscle car fans skipped over the 88 and gravitated more towards the 442. And what that means for prices is that the 442 is expensive while the 88 remains a bargain. Starting with the low priced one, we got a pretty solid example here. This is something a high school kid could buy, fix up, and have himself a nice car. And for those of you who got a little bit more money to spend, we got one here that's pretty much ready to go. I mean, it's not perfect, but for that price, who's complaining? Welcome back everyone, I'm here again to bring you 10 cheap classic muscle cars. And if you're new here, the rule is that we only count the muscle cars from the 60s and 70s. So it's got that classic muscle car look to it that we all know and love. And speaking of people who are new here, you know I gotta say this, but press that like button and subscribe. Next on the list is the Ford Thunderbird. Now when I say Thunderbird, I'm not talking about the one from the 50s, because those are technically roadsters and they're also pretty expensive. However, the Thunderbirds from the 60s fit this list perfectly. Here's a good example for the low priced ones. I've seen some cheaper than this, but this one ran and drove, so I decided to use this one. Then we got the super clean one that's more expensive, but if you're gonna spend $8,000 for a Thunderbird, I recommend it looks something like this. This is a pretty good baseline. You might have noticed that I only used the 68 T-Bird for my examples, and the reason for that is I just think they look the best. But all 60s T-Birds are gonna be about the same price. Moving on to the next car, we got the Pontiac Grand Prix. You gotta love the name on this one. It just sounds like it's always ready for a race. The Grand Prix is one of those cars that got overlooked, but they do look really nice and have a V8 while still remaining affordable. Here's the low priced one. Wow, this one definitely needs some body work. And here's the nicer one that seems pretty straight and the guy claims it runs and drives. A general rule of thumb I like to use when the guy claims it runs and drives is to look at the tires. If they're aired up, I usually assume he's been driving it around. But if the tires are flat, I usually just replace it with ran when parked. Anyways, the next car on the list is the Dodge Polera. I gotta be honest with you guys, I didn't even know these cars existed until I saw some for sale. A quick Google search says that the Dodge Polera was heavily criticized for having bad fuel economy. So I wouldn't buy one to save money on gas. Here's one that's painted but doesn't run and drive. And here's one that's not painted but does run and drive. So take your pick. And for those of you that just gotta know what the miles per gallon is, it's 13. Which is not very good. The next car is the Buick Riviera. So the Riviera has seen some growth in popularity in recent years. I don't know if it's because of the cheaper price or if people just all of a sudden fell in love with the styling on them. Both theories are pretty realistic though, because the styling kind of looks like a cross between a luxury car and a muscle car. You can see what I'm talking about. And as for the prices, well, take a look for yourself. Here we got the cheap one. And of course the price of a mid-condition. This one's kind of rougher than mid-condition, but the price is accounting for that. If I had one of these, I'd go with black paint and black interior and give it that murdered out look that would really complement the styling. If you got any better ideas, let me know in the comments. Moving on down the list, we got the Mercury Monterey. We haven't done too many Mercuries in this series other than the Cougar, so today we're adding another one. Unlike the Cougar, the Monterey is a bigger, heavier car, but that's just something you gotta expect when looking for a muscle car. Here's the price for a roller. These cars are a bit rare, so I didn't have too many options to pick from. And then we got the nicer one that's running and driving, and looks like someone's even done some body work on it. If you are interested in buying one of these, do remember that they are kind of rare. So keep an eye on the market like you usually would, but look a little longer and dig a little deeper. So getting into our top cars, now we got the Dodge Coronet. This is one of those cars that constantly gets brought up by Mopar guys while talking about good deal. And for good reason, because they are a good deal. But when you look at it compared to the price classic Mopars are going for these days, then you really start to see why people are talking about them. Here's the low price one. It does have an engine, but it's also got flat tires, so you know what that means. And then we got the nicer one that's roughly the same condition that Charger I showed was, but it's less than half the price. I might make a video on why these old Mopars are raising in value so much, because it's a pretty good topic. Moving on to the next car, we got the Pontiac Le Mans. Since this car had a lot of the same body panels as the GTO, a lot of people try to clone these into GTOs, so when you're looking for one online, try typing in GTO clone or GTO replica, and that should bring up some more results. Since we're getting high up on the list, I decided to show more than 2 examples. Here's the bottom dollar one. Then we got the running and driving, rough around the edges example. And finally, the nice one. Again, not perfect, but would be fine for someone that wants a muscle car and not really a project car. If you're familiar with my top 10 list, you know that whenever I get to the top slot, I like to change up the format a little. I think in the last part, our top slot was every classic muscle car in the 4-door body style. And today, we're doing something similar to that, except we're talking about a platform. More specifically, the GM X-Body platform. This body was used on a number of cars by GM, including the Nova, Ventura, GTO, and the Buick Apollo, as well as some others. So I'm just going to show you the price of all of them. The cheapest one's going to be the Buick, pretty good price on those. Then getting a little more expensive, we got the Pontiac Ventura, followed by the GTO. And the most expensive out of these is the Chevy Nova, but still not quite that bad of a deal, just depends on the condition. We're closing in on 2,000 subscribers, so if you want to help us reach our goal, be sure to press that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video and feeling extra generous today, remember to press that like button. It really helps us out in the algorithm. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate the support, and I'll see you next time.